All right, welcome. And today we find ourselves in the book of Matthew, verse chapter 22. Um, Leading up to this time, during this time, Jesus finds himself being confronted and being tested and asked questions by the religious leaders of that time, trying to trap him in his words, trying to find a way to have a way to arrest him, to get rid of him, essentially. And during this time, two things we know is that they are ramping up their attack. They are just coming at him, all guns blazing. And also we know that Jesus knows that his time is coming to an end. And I can only imagine how hard that would be. As you know, we know that Jesus is human. We know that he's God. But yet he's still experiencing things we do. And as I would have to imagine, there's just this dread, this stress in his life right now. But yet we see him as he is confronted over and over again by the religious leaders, just a willingness to speak to them as people, willing to address them with truth, and not backing down from the pressures that he may be feeling to give up or to give in. And so today, as we look into Matthew chapter 22, is another one of these encounters being asked again, Jesus, what do you think about these things? And so we're going to pick up in Matthew 22. I'm going to be reading from the ESV version, verse 34 through 40. It says, "But when the Pharisees heard that he had silenced the Sadducees, they gathered together. And one of them, a lawyer, asked him a question to test him. 'Teacher, which is the great commandment in the law?' And he said to them, 'You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the great and first commandment. And second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments depends all the law and all the prophets.'" Now, most of us have heard that passage in one way or the other, whether through the quoting of the Deuteronomy passage that Jesus talks about to love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. But also, it's also demonstrated in other Gospels too, where Jesus also says the second is like it, to love your neighbor as yourself. And one of the interesting things that we find through this week, through his ministry, and especially this week, is that Jesus not only teaches these things, but he's demonstrating them as well. He's loving those who are accusing him. He's loving those who are his followers, and even though the stresses and the trials and the things that are pulling at him are coming at him, he still is loving. And we see all of this displayed, especially as we get near to, as we go through the Holy Weekend, as we get near to the cross. Is first of all, we see him coming triumphantly on a donkey on Palm Sunday, and we see a king who humbly enters Jerusalem, not demanding love, but actually offering it. We see him later in the week with his disciples in the Passover, and he's washing their feet, washing even the very one he knows is going to betray him because he loves him. And then ultimately, we see him the full display of love that Jesus shows when he's stretched out, when he's beaten and abused and just mutilated. But yet he loved us and loved his Father so much that he was willing to walk the path, no matter how difficult it was, to fulfill what God had in store for him. And so it wasn't just the love that he had for us. It was the love for his Father. He demonstrated fully what it meant, what it looked like to love the Father fully and unconditionally, loving him with all his heart, soul, mind, and strength. And by doing so, was able to love his neighbor as himself. In Romans 5:8 says, "But God demonstrates his own love for us, and while we were sinners, Christ died for us." And that because of this very passage of to love the Lord your God with everything that you have and to love your neighbor as yourself was demonstrated for us, even in probably the most difficult situation anybody could find themselves in. So know then this week that it is the love for his Father and his love for you and for me that he walked this path of suffering and sacrifice that the Father prepared for him. And so may we, like Jesus, love God with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength. And by doing so, also loving our neighbors as ourselves. Jesus had the ultimate test and the trial to live this out, and he did it with perfection. Now, can we walk that same path and walk that same path of perfection? By no means. But through the Spirit's help, by God's intervention in our life, by Jesus working in us, can we love the Lord God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and to love our neighbors as ourselves. Be blessed and have a good week.